Hi, welcome back. This is part 2 of the handweaving.net draft number 53946. And we're picking up where we left off. I got all of the threads through the heddles and the reed on the last video, and now we are tying onto the front bar. I always start in the middle when I do this, and I do a couple to the left and then a couple to the right and so on. And my goal right now is not to make sure everything is even or anything. We are simply just getting them all on there. We'll go through later and tighten everything up and make sure everything is even. Again, I am using a baby acrylic, which is a beautifully soft yarn, but also stretchy. So being very careful not to overstretch this as I tie it on. And I'm using pretty good sized chunks here. I think I've got like 10 in each bundle, and then I'm tying 2 of those together, so 20 per knot there. And then because I use that super stretchy not elastic, it's like a knit yarn, it's like super bulky, it just, even in a few rows, just closes those gaps like super easy. I love it. Okay, beautiful magic of editing video, and we're almost done, getting towards the end here. Okay, we are all done tying on, and now is the time we are going to take to even everything out. I'm going to make sure that all of my bundles are evenly tensioned. I'm not pulling, like, again, because this stuff is really stretchy, I'm not going to actually pull too much on anything. I just want to make sure that each section is about equal in tension. I will work on getting it to the right tension when I'm weaving it, and not really concerned about doing that right now. I just want them all to be even. So this just takes a few minutes, and then a few of the bundles I double knotted. Okay, so now we've moved on. You can see I've already woven quite a bit here, actually. I had a little bit of an issue with my video camera, and so I lost some video, but that's okay. A couple of things I learned real quickly while I was weaving with this is not to beat too hard, because you will actually squish it all up, and we don't want it to be squished. We want it to be nice and even. You'll also notice at the beginning of the weave there, I've got nice good 2 inches of just plain weave, and then you'll notice that little red stripe there. That is going to be my sewing guide. I am going to put a really nice red satin blanket binding on it, and I wanted to be able to see exactly where I was going to sew that on, and so I put this one pick of red in there. Okay, and so you'll notice when I'm beating here, I am not beating very hard at all. I am just simply pushing the yarn into place. The first repeat, which are the first 2 rows you see there, the first 2 rows of squares, I beat those a little bit too hard, so they ended up being more like rectangles than squares that they're supposed to be. So I learned that lesson very quickly. And anyway, so just going through here, and it's this kind of a slow weave because I'm not beating very hard, and I'm being very careful how hard I beat that. Oh, lost track where I was. Okay, there we go. Okay, and the other thing I wanted to talk about was the shuttle that I'm using. This is a Leclerc, I think is how you say it, ski shuttle that I got off of the Woolery. It is awesome for those thicker yarns. Obviously, with this is a sport weight yarn, so that you're not going to get very much on a standard shuttle with a bobbin. So I got this guy, and I tell you what, it is awesome. It is slick and it goes through that shed like nobody's business. As a matter of fact, a couple of times I actually lost it off the beater because it slid so far and so fast before I could catch it, it was on the floor. So anyway, the reason I'm not using a stick shuttle is because, one, I find stick shuttles to be extremely irritating because for whatever reason I am always getting the two little prongs on the ends caught on my warp threads, and I just got super fed up with those. So I don't even use stick shuttles on my table loom or my rigid heddle loom, which is kind of the same thing. Anymore. I actually got some really nice shuttles specifically for that loom off of handywoman.com or handywomanshop.com. They are super thin shuttles specifically built and made for smaller looms, which I love. And anyway, so, and two, the other reason why I am not using a stick shuttle here is because of the width. So I don't have any, obviously stick shuttles are limited to, certain widths. And this is 32 inches wide. And so I didn't want to have to go halfway through and then poke my fingers through every single time. That would have just been super irritating. So I got this lovely guy, and I am absolutely in love with it. All right, I'm just gonna leave you here to enjoy some speed weaving, and if only we could do this in real life. I will see you at the end. So we've made it to the other end. And here I am going to do another single pick of just plain red. And of course, don't need to bother putting this on a shuttle or anything. I'm just going to go ahead and poke it through here with my fingers and get that all the way to the end. And just change, what I'll do is I'll just change sheds after I get that through. There we go. And then just tuck the ends in. It's going to get all covered up anyway because that's where I'm going to sew the satin binding on. And then after I get that done, we're going to do another 2 inches of just plain weave. I just literally pulled a bunch off of the ball of yarn, so that's why that was so long. And just trim that up and then grab that, and making sure I don't grab the end of the weft yarn, the gray weft yarn, just because I don't want that, I just want the red. And now we're gonna do another couple inches of plain weave, and then we're gonna cut it off. Okay, we are all done. I've got 2 inches of plain weave there, and I just tucked in my little end. It's gonna get sewn over like I mentioned. And I'm really sorry, I was really hoping to give a nice satisfying cut off, but apparently I was not fully aware of where the camera lens was, or I was just not paying attention, or I was tired, or it was just done. But anyway, so I've cut it off the loom here and gonna unroll it, which is always fun. Kind of see what it looks like. I promise next weave I will stand on the other side of the loom so that my big old back is not in your way. And there we go. Now I'm just gonna cut off the other end, and I just use scissors. I just cut off the knots. I don't bother untying anything because like I said, I'm gonna sew it up, so it doesn't matter. So just gonna cut these off, and this just takes a minute or two. I finally figured out I was standing in the way of the camera, so I switched over to the other side, and you can actually really see how I'm cutting these off. Again, I'm just kind of pulling the project away and then just snipping it off there. And now I'm going to pull out my handy dandy weaving spacer, this knit yarn that I just absolutely love. It's like t-shirt yarn. It's great. Love it. And after I get this pulled out, I am simply going to just spread things out a little bit, snip off a few of the longer ends where like I had to, do a new shuttle because I ran out of yarn on the shuttle. So I've got a few ends of those that I'm going to snip off. Isn't that lovely? I love this pattern. I am actually going to be doing a couple more M and W. This is an M and W pattern. Again, I think I mentioned in the first video that I did slightly alter this pattern. I just added a extra bump, I guess you want to call it, to that, to the M and to the W to make the squares a little bit bigger, because otherwise it would just been super tiny, which probably would have been lovely too, but for this baby blanket I wanted a little bit more, I wanted the squares to be a little bit bigger. Also, I should note for baby blankets I always do Nothing over 3 floats because of course you don't want to get their little tiny fingers stuck under any floats. And here it is, all finished up, washed, and with the trim on there. And it is lovely, and little Jameson absolutely loves it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like for my next video.